Welcome back to Arise Xchange. The Northeast Corridor for Amtrak carries some of the most powerful and well-known people in the country. Vice President Joe Biden frequently took the train, perhaps its most famous occupant. He took it to D.C. when he was in Congress and lived in Delaware. And lawmakers from all over the Northeast are often seen on board. But the spike in derailments points to the larger problem of America's railroads. To explore this issue, we are rejoined by Jay Morelock, an economist with FTN Financials. Jay, we're an international program, and a lot of people may not realize how important this railroad system is. In Europe, railroads are huge. In the United States, not so much. But the Northeast Corridor for Amtrak is a big deal.
Yep, and it actually resembles a lot of the European system. It connects major cities. It's very efficient. It's timely. It runs multiple times a day. Actually, about 230 million people ride it a year. And this goes between...
Stunning number.
Oh, it's huge. And it runs between the major cities of the Northeast. So, it connects to Washington, D.C., Philly, Boston, New York. So it's really, the crux of Northeast. To put it into context for, Amtrak is subsidized by the government to the tune of $1.4 billion a year. And this is the only profitable corridor they run.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Most people may or may not realize that it's neither a private company nor is it a government company, but it is a company that does not make money and is heavily subsidized. And that subsidy is often fought about in Congress.
Well, absolutely. I mean, especially with so much money on the line and with such an important infrastructural development in the Northeast, it's imperative that this thing runs well and runs efficiently and avoids wrecks. This is very important. If we all turn to cars, we have a big country and a lot of the Midwest, which we were talking about before, you can get in your car and you can make a drive. But, between these major cities with the heavy population, it really is crucial to have the planes and trains working
And the fact is, if the airlines had the safety record that not just Amtrak, but the commuter rails have in this country, I'm not entirely sure they would be operating right now. It is not a good record, but it's not necessarily all of their fault. We do have an infrastructure problem. We don't upgrade the rails.
It's true. And the problem, it's a trade-off. So with infrastructure investment, when you think about having to close the rails in order to do the infrastructure maintenance, there's a big cost to that. Millions and millions of people are counting on this to being their main source of transportation. So it'd be like closing one of the major highways in the Northeast. So it's difficult. It definitely needs to be done, but it's done so piecemeal. Why there's so much tension is because you just can't do this massive overhaul at one time. But let's update this to look like a lot of the trains in Japan and Europe.
Right, which are high-speed trains, bullet trains, maglev trains. We don't have any of that here for the most part. They've been talking. I know former Pennsylvania Governor Ed Rendell had once asked for a high-speed train between Philly and New York, making Philadelphia a suburb. This is a potential jobs program that the government can get behind.
Yep, and absolutely. And the big question is against the private sector is, if this is going to be a government-subsidized program, so it doesn't need to operate at a profit, what that does is it prices out a lot of the private industry. So if you're able to, price your tickets below what they would normally cost, I think food on the Amtraks cost the government $100 million a year to subsidize.
They subsidize the food on Amtrak?
The food on Amtrak, yes.
And it's not particularly good.
And no, it's not. That's what I mean. If you're going to subsidize it, give us some more choices.
Better food. Do you think there's going to be an impact on business people taking the train right now?
I think so. We're up here in the Northeast. I will think twice before boarding it if I have the option to take a quick flight. Flights run every 50 minutes to the same cities.
And not that much more expensive. When you get on the Acela, it's several $100s if you buy the train ticket the day of.
Yep, and if you have some advanced travel and you're going to decide between the Acela or the Express Jet, they're about the same cost if you have a month in advance. So I do think it could cause people to hesitate because this is really the second one. We had one up in New Haven a couple months ago, so it really is a big concern.
That's right. Okay. Jay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your input. Turning now to our business ticker stories making headlines.